My look at the X-Men series continues with 2009's X-Men Origins Wolverine. And yes, it's time to address the most infamous entry in the series. Intended as the first in a series of movies centered on individual characters in the franchise, ended up being the only one. The executive editing on this film underwent is also very well documented. The short version is, to my understanding, that director Kevin Hood wanted a darker, more realistic movie, while Fox's then CEO Tom Rothman wanted a more conventional fix for an event film aimed at kids. Midnight's Edge is a pretty good summary of the trouble production and their podcast. I'll put a link in the description. That aside, while I may have said I don't think X3 was that bad, I can say this one is that bad. Let's open this up and talk about it. Open on the Canadian territories in the year 1845, where a young man named James Hallett is living with his half-brother Victor Creed. Their father is killed by the groundskeeper Thomas Logan, causing James' mutant powers to awaken. As it turns out that Logan is James' real father, as the two flee and proceed to take part in numerous wars over the years. Let me say, this is actually the least of the problems with the film's timeline. James has grown into Hugh Jackman, and Victor's grown to Leo Schreiber, taking over from Tyler Mane. To stumble into Vietnam, as you do, and enlisted to take part in the lead combat squad in the Warring Striker, played by Danny Houston. The unit contains Chris Badley, played by Dominic Monaghan, Fred Dukes, played by Kevin Durand, John Wraith, played by Will.i.am and Black Eyed Peas, and most infamously, the first appearance of Wade Wilson, played by Ryan Reynolds. I guess it's not enough that have a movie at this point with one iconic superhero, this one needed two. We'll cross bridge when we come to it. We're barely 10 minutes in, folks. Also, James adopted a cutting with Logan, which is during the first mission Logos figure, so it's not Crossbones stealing some pathogen, it's just stealing some adamantium. To be fair, this opening action scene is pretty decent for the most part. So Logan being nerfed in these early scenes, it's actually the least of the character liberties taken in this movie. Logan then retreats from active duty to live with Kayla Silverfox, played by Lynn Collins, become a lumberjack in the Canadian Rockies. Insert Monty Python song here. As for the whole subplot about the Native American legend about the Wolverine, it's an interesting idea, but the movie makes about as plausible as T-Hawk and Street Fighter at Night of Mortal Kombat. After Victor, better known as Sabretooth, kills Bradley, finding him in a carnival in Ohio, Striker approaches Logan with a new deal on 8-0, played by Daniel Henney. Logan declines, but changes his mind after he's attacked by Sabretooth and Kayla seemingly killed. The movie is where we actually get to see weapon experiments hinted at in the main movies, and boy did not take advantage of the potential here. Anyway, Logan has adamantium grafted onto his bones, becoming the Wolverine escaping from the compound. He takes refuge in the bar of an old couple who are strangely fine with the mood man hiding there. Even I wouldn't mind if he's Hugh Jackman, but I digress. They have Hudson, played by Julia Blake, and her husband Travis, the film stand-in for James McDonald, played by Max Cullen. After he gets dressed, we get a glimpse of his infamous CG claws, and so to have, I once again admit that it's astonishing how with double the budget and 9 years of advance of the first movie, they somehow look worse. The video game Tyne had better visuals than this, and this is one of the few licensed games better than the source material. Travis gives Logan the same motorcycle jack we see in the first movie, and after some labored jokes, Agent Zero kills the Hudsons, leading to an action chase scene with Logan on the back of a motorcycle. I will give DP Donald McAlpine some credit. He was new to effectual action at the time, though it's all pretty open. Even I can't deny the shot Logan walking away from exploding a helicopter is pretty cool. Nicholas Toth and Megan Gale are usually good editors. Even though this came in from Tim Pocock as young Cyclops doesn't make much sense to me. Logan meets up with Wraith, but Dukes has put on weight, becoming the Blob after he mishears Logan's catchphrase. Well, it's actually not the worst misuse of the character from the comics, though the fact is pretty unconvincing. Sure enough, Logan wins the fight against him to find a lead to Sabretooth. Nothing moves the Blob. Sabretooth and Stryker end up capturing Cyclops. If anyone else is tired of the troubled student version of his backstory, trust me when I say you're not alone. Logan then follows Blob's lead to New Orleans, where he meets Remy Gambit LeBeau, played by Taylor Kitsch. Though he's definitely not leading me material, he does fine here, and I will deal with the off-delayed reboot with Channing Tatum as it comes. The ensuing action scenes and mess overcooked CGI, with this part of Logan cutting up a fire escape once again looking worse than the first one came out almost a decade prior. Now comes big finale Stryker's compound through my island, which only a second worst disaster take place there. Too soon? Anyway, Stryker experimenting on the mutants being held there, among them Emma, played by Tanya Tozzi. Even with the leaked work print controversy at the time, her diamond form is still somewhat obvious CG. Still, the worst is to come. Kayla is alive as it turns out her death was staged by Sirius and Stryker. Color me not surprised, as with her mutant powers suggestion. As Logan leads the captive mutants off the island, he's confronted by Weapon 11, who is this film's unfortunate take on Deadpool. Rather than the gleefully profane, genre-savvy merc with a mouth, his discount Rock with his mouth stitched shut, and swords coming out of his arms. Would have received a spin-off of his own were not for the negative reaction Liberty's taken, and more on that later. Now, we get the final battle on top of Three Mile Island, results in Weapon 11's defeat, and Stryker shooting Logan with an adamantium bullet. His healing powers mean he isn't dead, though a bullet does erase his memory of what's happened. I wish the screenwriters had done the same thing. So, we close this mess and Logan becoming a drifter, and the mutants joining Xavier Academy with digitally de-aged Patrick Stewart. This may be more common now, while it's still relatively new in 2009. This movie is thankfully over, so don't really care if he looks like a wax statue of Captain Picard. While this movie did make money, taking $170 million domestically and $373 million worldwide on a $150 million budget, it was roundly panned by critics and fans alike. It does have some occasional cool moments and creative action scenes. The plot made no sense, and Liberty's take on the characters did not work for this movie at all. Though Dark Phoenix was at best average and it was disappointing, this movie was spectacularly bad. No exaggeration. Especially the Batman and Robin and Superman for the X-Men series. Had Turk A's were able to do Wolverine and Deadpool and film right. Twice. Yeah. Not only did no further origin movies come of this, but the next Wolverine film was largely a sequel to X3 that ignored the events of this one, that was officially rendered non-canon by the events of Days of Future Past, though some elements were used in Logan. Overall, one of my least favorite of the series, I'm definitely glad to finally address it. My final rating is 1 out of 4. Because of negative reaction to this movie, the planned Origins film of Magneto was retooled into a new story, which we'll talk about next time as my marathon concludes when I look at 2011's X-Men First Class.